Please be seated. Chancellor, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, my name is Anton Moscatelli. I'm the Principal and Vice Chancellor of the University of Glasgow, and it's my very great pleasure to welcome you all to this very special graduation ceremony and fireside chat. I know that tonight's events have certainly captured your interest and imagination, and indeed that of many others, because tickets for tonight's event were snapped up and we reached capacity in record time, indeed under an hour, if I remember correctly. So we who are here are the lucky ones, and I'm delighted to welcome you to the Bute Hall this evening. Tonight's proceedings fall into two parts. The first will centre on our honorary degree ceremony, when the Chancellor, Sir Kenneth Hellman, will confer the honorary degree of Doctor of Science on our distinguished guest and graduate Tim Cook, Chief Executive Officer of Apple. It's a real and genuine thrill to welcome Tim here to the University. Honorary degrees have a special place in the life and identity of this university. It's our opportunity to highlight and align ourselves with genuine achievement and success across the whole spectrum of human endeavour. Our honorary graduates down through the years cover the arts and sciences, culture and sport, public life and philanthropy, business and industry. Through conferring honorary degrees, we not only draw great men and women into our community of alumni, but also reaffirm our belief in the human capacity to do great things. And more than this, through this act of graduation, we celebrate the inspiration that these people can be to each new generation. And tonight, we're more than fulfilled this brief, and in warmly welcoming Tim, I would like to thank him for accepting an honorary degree from this university, and in so doing, confirm his willingness to identify himself with our community. And then, following the graduation ceremony, there will be a short pause as we slightly rearrange the furniture for the second part of the evening, the fireside chat. And this will be led by David Phelan, and I'll introduce David later. And as part of this, there will be an opportunity for a question and answer session with Tim, and again, we're very grateful to Tim for agreeing to do this. First of all, Chancellor, may I invite you to commence the graduation ceremony. Thank you.
Chancellor, by the authority of the Senate, I present to you this person on whom the Senate desires you to confer the honorary degree of Doctor of Science, Timothy Cook. Tim is the Chief Executive Officer of Apple, one of the most innovative and most admired companies in the world. Over 1 billion Apple products are used around the globe today, probably many right here in this room. Tim became CEO in 2011 and has led Apple to new heights, introducing some of the company's most forward-thinking and successful new products. At the same time, he's given Apple a voted voice in matters of equality, human rights, environmental protection and privacy. 2 years ago, he urged students at George Washington University to find work that is infused with moral purpose. You don't have to choose between doing good and doing well. Under Tim Cook's leadership, Apple is placing even greater emphasis on diversity. Recently, when asked why he believes that Apple should strengthen its emphasis to support and enhance diversity, Tim simply replied, "It's the future of our company." The University of Glasgow strongly believes in diversity as well. Throughout our history, we've been trailblazers. We were the university which educated the first African-American doctor, James P. Smith, in the 1830s. In the 20th century, we opened our doors to students who could not access higher education in their own countries because of discrimination and racial or religious lines. In Scotland, we're proud of the leading role we play in providing access to less privileged socio-economic groups. We as a university, and Apple under Tim Cook's leadership, share important values and goals in the area of diversity and on its importance in shaping the future of humanity. Tim is originally from Alabama. He earned a Bachelor of Science degree in Industrial Engineering from Auburn University, an MBA from Duke University. Tim spent 12 years at IBM, moving through the ranks to become an executive in its personal computer division. In 1997, his career had steadily progressed and he became Vice President of Corporate Materials at Conferring. Then, practically on a lark, he took a meeting with Steve Jobs, who had just returned to Apple at a time when the company's future was very uncertain. By his own account, that meeting prompted him to throw caution to the wind, upend his career, and move to California to join Steve's effort to change the world. Now, 20 years on, Tim leads the most successful business on the planet and finds his own name on this, one of the world's most influential leaders. Chancellor, computing science is a key aspect of what Apple does. During Tim's time in charge, significant new technologies have been taken out of research labs and into the hands of consumers. For example, Siri, the virtual assistant, uses sophisticated machine learning, speech synthesis, and speech recognition techniques to help people interact naturally with their devices, wherever they are. The Apple Watch, very popular with my wife and the principal, and the iPhone, very popular with my kids, constantly push the boundaries of embedded operating systems, wireless networking, and power management. Apple and Tim have played a strong role in my own research area, which is human-computer interaction. This topic focuses on how people use technology from desktop computers to mobile phones. They're famed for their user interface design and usability. They pioneered the first commercially successful desktop graphical user interface, which is still used today. The usability of the iPhone is one of the key reasons why it's been so commercially successful over the last 10 years. Haptics, or the use of touch interaction with devices, is a particular research interest of mine. Apple were the first to bring multi-touch interaction to our phones. Gesturing for interaction has now become the norm. We're often surprised when we touch touchscreens that don't respond. Tim, we look forward to the future, and as Apple continues to innovate, it's going to be an incredibly exciting time seeing where computer science and technology is going to take us. Chancellor, it's a great pleasure that I now invite you to confer the honorary degree of Doctor of Science on Tim Cook.
So, Dr. Cook. Yeah? Did you enjoy that?
I loved it.
And tell me, do you feel...
I was a little afraid that things would fall
Oh,
down.
yeah. Do you feel different? I don't know, brainier maybe?
You know, I'll take anything I can get.
So you're in Europe on a pretty whirlwind tour. You've been here for a few days. Would you tell us a little about where you've been, what you're doing, and maybe what some of the highlights are?
Yeah, maybe before I get to that, this is quite a privilege to have a degree with all of you from one of the finest universities in the world. And I am truly humbled by it. I spent some time this afternoon going through some of the history of this university, in addition to what I had read. And we're all very fortunate to be alumni and students. I count that as one of my life's blessings. I particularly like to say thank you to Murdoch McClellan, who is a longtime friend of mine and introduced me to the university and has given me incredible advice for many years on many different subjects, and I hold your friendship very dear. Thank you. Now, to the question. I have been on a whirlwind tour, and it's been incredible. I started in France, and then went to Germany, and I came to Glasgow this afternoon. I've been meeting with entrepreneurs throughout the countries that have started new companies, and they're very focused on app development. And many of them have started very small. I visited one just yesterday that started in a small apartment, a really, really small apartment, and now has grown to a team of 30 or so people, and they sell their app in 150 plus countries around the world. It's pretty incredible that you can start in one small place and all of a sudden be a worldwide entrepreneur. And so it's been fabulous to be out with them. I also met with a lot of creative people. Apple's background and history is in serving the creative community. And so I've met with people from the Philharmonic Orchestra in Berlin, which was, and got to set in on a rehearsal that they were doing. They used Macintoshes and lots of our technology there. I met designers, I met visual designers, I met JR in France. If you know him, he's done some of the most incredible work that if anybody thinks that art doesn't make a difference, they should sort of meet him. And so it's been an unbelievable time.
There's one thing you haven't mentioned, which I'd like to... There was a picture I saw earlier today of you tossing a pancake. I've literally never seen anyone look as happy tossing a pancake.
Well, I was happy it didn't land on my face.
All right.
There's a startup in Berlin named Kitchen Stories. And this is a combination of someone sort of being at the intersection of their passion, which was cooking, and starting an app teaching others how to cook, and then all of a sudden they begin offering that to the whole world. And it was great to meet a woman CEO that had gone out and raised money in Germany and now is a highly successful entrepreneur with 30 plus people. And so I was taking a cooking lesson, and they wanted me to flip a pancake, and I was a bit worried about doing it terribly long time since I've done that. But I did it okay. Pretty surprised.
Congratulations.
It's a moment of pride.
I wanted to talk to you about values. I've heard you say before that companies are made up of groups of people, and people have values, so therefore it's right that companies should have values. So I wonder if you would tell us a little about the values that you and Apple are interested in.
I think this is a really very important point. My advice to all of you is don't work for money. It will wear out fast. Or you'll never make enough and you'll never be happy, not one or the other. You have to find the intersection of doing something that you're passionate about, and at the same time, something that is in the service of other people. And I would argue if you don't find that intersection, you're not going to be very happy in life. And so I've been very fortunate to wind up in an incredible company where I'm very passionate about what we do, and it also stands at the exact intersection of my values. And so the kinds of things that we work on, the main thing that Apple will always do is provide products to others that empower them to do great things. We will touch more people doing that than anything else we do. But we also advocate for human rights around the world. And so, we have a very simple philosophy that everyone should be treated with dignity and respect. And that sounds so simple, but there's so many cases, literally in every country in the world where that doesn't happen today. And so we really try to push very hard for that. We push very hard in laws and behavior and everything else. We also very much care about our planet. And our concept or our philosophy is we want to leave the world better than we found it. And so we set out on an aggressive goal, what seemed aggressive at the time, to run Apple on 100% renewable energy. If you look at most of the countries that have aggressive goals, it's maybe 20% by 2030 or something like this. We wanted to do it quickly. And I'm very proud to tell you that today we run Apple on 93% renewable energy. And we're going to make that extra 7. And so this is very important to us. We've now expanded that to work on our whole supply chain, and we're driving the supply chain to 100% renewable energy. We also thought about the paper that we use, and you know, we package our products like everyone else does, and that requires paper. And so we've done some innovative work with some conservation groups that essentially buy land, strip the development rights off of it, and then they use the land as a managed forest. And because the development rights have been stripped off, it's in perpetuity. So nobody can put a skyscraper on the land. And we've set aside millions of acres like this. I mean, huge enough where all of our paper usage comes from managed forests. This is something that we're very, very proud of. We also focus on education because we see that the top problem in the world between haves and have-nots, generally the root cause is education. Is that, if you put it very simply, that people don't have equal opportunity. That too many times equal opportunity depends on being born in the right place, maybe to the right family. And this has never seemed right to us, and if things start off in a way that's not equal for people, it's kind of tough to view that those paths are going to go very well. And so we focused on helping underprivileged and underserved kids in schools. And we've learned a lot in doing this, and we continue to press forward here. We've been surprised at honestly speaking, how some of the schools have just been left without any technology at all. And kids are, in some cases, coming to stay hungry and basic kind of things. And so we will not fix everything, obviously, but we want to do our part and do as much as we can. We also take part in things like product red. And so you guys know Bono. We work with Bono very closely on product red. The whole idea behind product red is to stop AIDS transmission between mother and child. And not just reduce it, but eliminate it. And we believe we can do that by 2020, which is not that far away. If somebody would have told you that a few years ago, I don't think anybody would believe it. And yet we are really that close. And of course it takes funding to do that, but it's more important than funding because it takes a great deal of awareness and vaccine delivery systems and so forth. It feels really good. So all of those things are deeply embedded in Apple. It's how we look at the world. And you could sort of put all of them in maybe a simple way to say we're an empowerment business. We try to empower people. And it's in the way we design our products. We design our products so that blind people can use our product. So someone doesn't have to fear to use our product. We have incredible engineering teams that really think through every disability an individual can have so that the phone or an iPad or a Mac is accessible for them. Because we know that if our technology isn't accessible, then it can't be life-changing or accessible. So that's a long answer, but it's a subject that we're very passionate about.
Well, and one other thing about values I'd like to ask you about. You wrote a letter to yourself quite recently, and you said several things in it, but one of them, you said, Apple believes deeply in the importance of integration, both to the company and to our future. Apple would not exist without integration, let alone thrive and innovate. That's obviously part of your values as well.
Yeah, very much, because it goes to people being treated with dignity and respect. And I wrote this letter after, you probably read about this, unless you're living underground somewhere. The most recent executive order that was issued in United States. And what we found was that the order applied to people. For example, I would guess many of you can relate to this, is we have employees that secured a work visa. They located in the United States, they brought their family to the United States. They happened to be outside the United States when the executive order was issued, and all of a sudden their families split. They couldn't get back in. And arguably, that's a crisis. I mean, can you imagine that? We've been able to work through that, but you can imagine the stress and now the feeling that exists of will it occur again, right? And we had cases where grandparents scheduled to come over for the birth of their first grandchild. And this is a major event that everyone would want to be there for within your family, no longer in the United States. And so what we wanted to express was our point of view on this. Because we believe strongly that Dr. King said something so incredible, he's a hero of mine. He said that it wouldn't be the actions of people that would be the problem. It would be the appalling silence of the good people. And I think that's a lesson for all of us. If we stand and say nothing, it's as if we're agreeing, that we're become a part of it. And so I think it's very important to speak out. Our company, to answer a little more detail, is Steve was the son of an immigrant. Our company has immigrants in it. They're key to the innovation of our company. Our company depends on diversity, and diversity with a big D, diversity of thought. And people generally have diverse views of things if they have different backgrounds. It's the beauty, it's the tapestry of getting people with all different backgrounds and all different point of views that are able to create the best products. And so it's a subject we're passionate about. And we wanted to, state our opinion on it and try to influence the public discourse on it.
Sitting here in this room, magnificent hall with 800 plus students who are, some of them about to graduate, some of them a year or two off. What would you've already mentioned the intersection of your passions. Is there any other piece of advice you'd like to give to them as they're about to leave university?
So think about what you're passionate about. And it may seem, actually, the folks on that yesterday were very much like this. They had no clue what they were doing. They just knew they were passionate about it. And they began to talk about it. They talked to one friend and then another, and pretty soon there's a mobile app in their mind, and pretty soon it's about instructing people how to cook in a sort of casual kind of environment where you could be sort of like me with no knowledge of cooking and learn. And all of a sudden they're selling a product in 150 countries. They don't have to worry about are they going to make money anymore. And so it starts with that. And from my point of view, and I learned this, I did not learn this right out of school. If I could go back and tell the younger me, I would advise the younger me to not start loving to work. That there's a big difference between loving to work and loving the work. And there's a big difference between whether you fall in love with some work that is just for profits or revenues versus work that is in the service of others. And so I feel very strongly about that. The other thing I would tell you, in today's environment, the world is full of cynics. And you have to tune them out. Because if not, they become a cancer in your mind and in your thinking. And you begin to think that you can't, or that life is negative. And the truth is, it may not seem like it all the time, but there has never been a better time to be alive than today. It is the best time. It's the best time to be graduating, the best time to be in school. It's truly the best time. I know that it doesn't seem like it all the time. But my advice is to tune it out. Even if you have friends next to you that are constantly cynics, you have to tune them out too. Because if not, if you're around it all the time, you will begin to believe, and that's not good. So that is my advice, with no charge.
Well, that's a very nice, smooth segue, thank you, into the next part of the evening, which is where we'll get you to ask questions. Who's going to be brave and ask the first question? Okay, plenty of bravery in the room, let's get started. We've got microphones, so we'll bring them to you. And the trick is, maybe as you're in the front row, so we'll come to you. Here comes the microphone. If you stand up, tell us your name, and actually just hold on one minute. If your question is going to be, what's the next iPhone that you like? When is it out? And what's the outstanding feature? Let me warn you, you may get an answer that leans more to the elegant and less to the actually factually revealing. I've tried these questions, let me tell you. But ask whatever you want. So tell us your name and your question.
So my name's Nathan Sewell. I've got two, so I'm going to be cheeky. The first one, can Apple job? And the second one is, what's Apple's next big thing? But not just a product, but in terms of activism.
In terms of
activism, like your work.
activism. Oh, that's an interesting question. The answer to the first one is send us a resume. The website's full of jobs at Apple. We're hiring people across Europe and people in the United States, people in Asia. We're hiring around the world, and we need all the right people we can get. So we'd love to join you. The future of activism. This is a word that I don't view Apple as an activist. And I don't view myself as an activist. And the reason is that a lot of people hear that word and they think about sort of a professional activist. And that's not what we are, or it's not what I am. I don't think I can agree with that. What we do is, for things that we have some deep knowledge on, or think we do, or a strong point of view based on things we've learned, that gives us some standing to make a point. We are not shy. We'll stand up and even when our voice shakes. Last year, we came to a loggerhead with the U.S. government about privacy and security. And I won't go through all the details. You can probably read some things about this. But it wasn't that we were being activists. It was that we were being asked to do something that we knew was wrong. And so we had a choice to either just blindly do what the institution said to do or to fight. And we chose to fight. And so I think sometimes you're put in a situation like that where you're not sort of doing a roadmap and saying, I'm going to do this and then do this and so forth. But to take a little different angle, so I wouldn't call us an activist in that. However, we do deeply think about the environment and what we can keep doing. And our focus right now on the environment is to green our entire supply chain, is to have a supply chain that is essentially carbon neutral. And we don't think anybody's done that, or anybody's close to that, and we think we have a shot at it. We've taken some big bites there, so we're doing that there. On human rights, we've been advocating around the world for laws to change. We were advocating for marriage equality. We've been advocating against laws that were discriminatory in nature in several states. And we will continue to do this and continue to do it until people stop trying to treat a group of people like second-class citizens. And so that's a little bit about what we're doing in these years. Thanks for the question. Wow. We may be here for a while.
Thank you. Come on the end there, please.
So my name is Kevin, and I guess something that made me think of this question was looking back to my childhood. I was a big Toy Story fan, a big Buzz Lightyear fan. So the Apple Watch reminds me a lot of Buzz Lightyear and how he sort of talks to his wrist. And then as a kid, I could only dream of unlocking the phone with my fingerprint. And looking at how technology has advanced so much nowadays, I'm really curious to know how Apple and Apple products will continue to draw the line and redefine the way we interact with the human body. Because when we look at all these apps that track your sleep and fitness and everything, to what extent do you think is the limit and the line to technology interacting with our bodies?
I don't think there's a limit. I think there are lines. And the lines for us are privacy lines. But in terms of the limits, I think, I was over at the hospital earlier this afternoon. When you start thinking about, particularly in your health system, because it's rich with data, there's probably enough data there since it dates back to 1970 or so, and you've got a sort of a 45-year track of not only an individual's health records and what has happened to them, but their families. And if you couple that with sequencing that can be done for materially lower costs now, and imaging, the things that we track with the watch, you can begin to stitch together a direct relationship between cause and effect on so many different things. And so what does it mean for people? It means hopefully you can live longer better. It's an ultimate kind of objective, and it is likely it'll clearly happen in your lifetime, and I hope it happens in mine. There's a great promise of precision medicine, that you're taking something that really makes a difference in your body, not something that creates a whole set of other issues and so forth. So I think there's so many opportunities here. We have found out from the watch just in the early days that monitoring the heart is a big idea, because people, even athletes, only monitored their heart when they were in an athletic endeavor. So by having a watch on people, we found so many people that found they had a heart issue, and if they wouldn't have been wearing a watch that produced the data, they would have never gone to the doctor, and if they wouldn't have gone to the doctor, they would have died. And so there's some significant things happening. There's the largest Parkinson's study is now going on because people can carry an iPhone and the iPhone is full of sensors that can detect different things and different movements. And so there's so many exciting things associated with the body and sort of the quantification of different things in the body. I've been wearing a continuous glucose monitor for a few weeks. I just took it off before coming on the trip because I was afraid the X-ray machine would let me through the airport. But, I found out some interesting things because I was being continually monitored. You know, I could graph the exact response to what I was eating and also all of a sudden modify it and keep my sugar in a much closer range. If you have a friend that's a diabetic, you know that they're constantly monitoring themselves, that this is a very painful endeavor to do. It's mentally anguishing to stick yourself every day or many times a day to check your blood sugar. There are lots of hope out there that if someone has constant knowledge of what they're eating and instantly know what it causes, the response in them, that they can adjust well before they become a diabetic. And so I think medicine, or health and fitness and wellness, is in the extremely early days. We haven't, it's almost like the game hasn't started yet, but I think it will happen rapidly. And what I heard this afternoon is, I think this country, Scotland, is in an incredible place to do this because you have a system that everybody is in. And the motivation is pure in the system. The motivation is for people to be healthy and live better. Where in other countries, like the US, there's complicated insurance reimbursements and all these kind of things, where companies, instead of just focusing on making a great product, they also focus on how do I get reimbursed. And that sometimes doesn't mean the great product, it may mean doing something very evolutionary. And so this is an area where I'm very excited about Apple's potential contribution in this space. Very excited. I think healthcare screams out for simple, intuitive, and we really like to play a role. Thank you for the question.
Let's go to this side. You can see a hand with a red sleeve. I can't see who's with this, but yes, please. That was your name.
And my name is Armstrong, and I come from China. And my question is, as we know, since Steve Jobs has been gone for like 6 years, and the product called Apple Pen, I think, is kind of Apple Pen, right?
Apple Pencil.
Okay, Apple Pencil, sorry. So it's been bring back. So as the first place, the iPod has been produced, was introduced by the gifts by God. It's our finger. So we cancel the keyboard. But somehow the pen goes back. But okay, I see your idea that you have to win the occupation of the market by the sort of the competitors in the world. But my question is Steve Jobs' spirit still exist in the Apple company? And your company, will your company still be the idealism company in the world and want to keep this idea to a very long period, I think?
Yeah. Thanks for the question. Let me talk about Apple Pencil just for a minute on the example you gave. I get asked this question a lot, and the question is, Steve hated a stylus. He said he'd never do it, and then you guys announced this Apple Pencil. What's up? And the truth is, Steve did hate styluses. But if you've ever used the Apple Pencil is the furthest thing from stylus that ever existed. Thank you. So, I was with a designer on Monday in Paris. And this is the designer of very high-end dresses for particular customers. He designs totally on the iPad Pro using the Apple Pencil. If you've ever, how many designers are in the room? Okay, there are a few. And so designers historically, and many still do, carry sketchbooks. And because they don't know when they're going to have inspiration. And when they have it, you want your tool there. Well, now the truth is with the Apple Pencil, you have the best of all worlds. Because unlike a sketch that you have to do many times to try out many different looks, whether it's colors or the specific lines on a card, etc. With the Apple Pencil, you can quickly try out any number of designs. I mean, the designer brought me a box full of markers, crayons, pencils that he used to use, and now he uses one. And so the Apple Pencil is a creative tool. That's what it's about. It's not about stylus. It's not about putting a foot on a stylus. Your bigger question about Steve's DNA will always be the core Apple. Steve is deeply embedded in the company. We celebrate him, and we celebrate his philosophy. His philosophy, I think, will be at Apple 100 years from now. It's there today and will be there because the philosophy is sort of passed down with every generation of employee. And so yes, he's very much in that way. Thanks for the question.
From China, and could you please make some comments on your President Donald Trump's immigration ban? That's the first question. And the second question is, what will that bring to ANCOs? And the third question is, what will ANCO do according to the values you mentioned before? Thanks.
I missed the last, I'm sorry, I didn't. Tell us the third question.
The third question is, what ANCO will going to do according to the values you mentioned before?
Okay, got it. We don't support the immigration ban. We've been very public about it. We don't support it. We think it's wrong. I quickly, within 24 hours of the order, wrote a note to all of our employees about where we stood on it. And it quickly made its way to the web, and so you can go out and see the actual internal communication that we had. But our simple view, exactly what David shared with you earlier, is that Apple would not exist without immigration. And so this is a huge issue for us. And so what do? We voice our opinion, we stand up, we don't sit in silence. In addition, we filed an amicus brief. An amicus brief in the United States is essentially think of it as simplistically a letter to the court that says how you view and whether which position you agree. And so we took a strong position, along with many other companies, by the way, in the U.S., that the order was wrong. And the court heard the arguments yesterday, and I don't know exactly what the schedule will be, but I would guess that fairly quickly they will be announcing their decision, and likely it'll go the next step to the Supreme Court. So what the the sort of the tools, if you will, is our opinion, and hopefully that matters, and the action with the court is more an official kind of way to voice it. I believe, I'm optimistic that as the saying goes, the arc of history bends towards justice, and I think the right thing will prevail. I think that the issue that I think the administration is trying to address of security, sort of at its highest level, we can all say we want people in every country to be safe, and but I don't believe that you have to trade walking away from what I think is a deeply held American value and to get there. Immigration, if you sort of step back a bit, probably more so than any country in the world, America's success is because of its immigrant history and because of its capacity of the people in America to accept and welcome people from different parts of the world with different cultures. And so I believe strongly that America will decide that that's also the future of America. I also personally believe that, and this is separate and distinct from the point I made earlier about Africa, but I personally believe that the wealthier countries in the world have a responsibility to accept people that are fleeing civil war. And it's a reasonable argument for people to have about to what degree, and it's also very reasonable for people to say we're not doing enough for the people in the country today, and I think that's also true. And I just don't think it's a trade one for the other. I think the U.S. can do both. Thank you for the question.
Thank you so much. Well, my name is Abel. I'm from Indonesia. I'd like to ask about leadership. So, as you know that you are one of the past CEO in the world, who is a person who you consider that if influenced you as a role model that will motivate and inspire you to be a great CEO? Thank you.
A really good question. The person who has influenced me the most in life is Steve. By far. He took a risk with me when I was 36 years old. And it was sort of that instance and many instances thereafter that I recognized that I had been on the wrong path. And that I was sort of rudderless in a way. Because I met someone, I met a CEO for the first time that was totally focused on basically one thing, making great products. And so he had a focus that was unlike any other. He also had, his thinking was so pure. He wasn't trying to maximize his wealth or anything else. He really understood sort of things you work on and the results that come from those things. and he separated those two. Many CEOs begin to think about that their goals are, so much revenue, or so much profit. But these are the results of doing great things. And they lose sight over doing great things. He never did. He also, more than any individual I've ever met, had a clear pecking order in his life. And he knew he couldn't do very many things. And so it was family, Apple, Pixar, and very little else. And so there was a lot of things he didn't do as a consequence. He didn't travel very much because he wanted to be at home at night with his family. And so he had a kind of a set kind of things. And I learned a lot from him, not only about being CEO, but about sort of ways to conduct your life. In terms of other people that influenced me, many of them are not around anymore, like Dr. Martin Luther King. I think he had a incredibly deep view over human dignity and respect, and knew deep down that until the world kind of treated everyone like they were equal, treated everyone that they were a first-class citizen, that no country could be a first-class country with second-class citizens. That this tyranny, that the majority trying to hold the rights or cut the rights of the minority was never the right thing to do. So I love the way that he thought. Gandhi is another one. Bobby Kennedy is another one. I've studied Churchill more, and more recently, and there's a TV show in the U.S. called The Crown that I don't know if you guys have seen it tonight, but I've been learning a lot about Churchill from that show. So, I find a lot of inspiration in several different people, and I would advise all of you to pick your heroes and study deeply why they did what they did, not what they did, but why. But why is the most important?
Thank you, Binga from Adam Smith Business Group. And my question is very simple. And what is the DNA of Tim Cook now? Thank you.
What is my DNA? I'm not totally sure I totally understand your question, but if you're asking sort of what drives me, I'm driven by serving other people. And that's the reason that Apple resonates with me so much, is that Apple has always been about democratizing something, democratizing technology, sort of trying to take the power source from an institution or from some big powerful entity and give it to everyone. And this has always been at the heart of my own. It's the empowerment business. It's how do you help other people do incredible things? And so very much I look at whether it's our products or whether it's advocating for human rights, and look at it through that lens. And that's what drives us.
Question down the front.
Thank you. My name is Lena, and first of all, congratulations on joining the university. I have a question, I guess, related to that. Now that you are part of the University of Glasgow, if you could give some advice back, you are in a position of privilege in terms of what insight you have into the future, and I'm sure that extends beyond technology. And as an early career academic, I was wondering if you have any advice for how we can best prepare our students for that future. And if it's something you can share with us.
Yeah, thank you for the question. Thank you for the hard question. I'm not sure why I said to select you, but I'm just kidding. I think the point that I made about the sentence, I think that teaching young people this is very important. Because the world has gone through an enormous change. We used to all sit and watch 3 or 4 people tell us the news. And generally speaking, probably most of us trusted them. And so you invited them in your living room and they told you what was going on. Now all of you are growing up in an environment where everyone is telling you the news. And everyone is trying to influence your opinion on something. And the filter that the person on TV, it was their responsibility to have, all of us need to have now. And I think generally society hasn't moved as fast as technology has in that regard. And so all of us are being put in a position to make sure that when we hear something, we don't automatically take it as our opinion, that we think through the different views of it, and also unfortunately make sure it's accurate as well, because there's a fair amount of that. And so I think universities can likely do more there to prepare folks for. Another thing, I think that coding should be a required language in elementary schools. It wasn't and isn't yet. But in college, it definitely should be. Not because everyone will be a coder, but because the training of the mind in how, and the fact that everything, your lives are all digital. Most of you were born in a digital environment, and your kids will never know anything else. I think it's very important that people understand the possibilities, because whether they plan to teach people to code or do other things, the understanding of coding becomes, I think, very important. So I think the university probably has both an outreach task there into the communities, and because the reality is that lots of folks are not getting coding in elementary, junior, or senior high school, I think the university has a mission there. And maybe the last thing would be ethics. I think, the top thing all of us can do is the right thing. And sometimes it's so easy to figure that out, and sometimes it's not. And sometimes, in most of the time, I would say, the right thing isn't the easiest thing. And I think universities can act in a position to get people to think through that at a very deep level versus the cursory kind of thing that maybe some of the older ethics classes that I took probably didn't do. So I'm sure you guys already do that, but that'd be my advice. Hopefully some of that's good. Thank you.
Well, I hate to tell you, but we're out of time, although I have to say that was a perfect full stop for our answer. it seems to have gone in like 5 minutes. I can't tell you, obviously, there were lots more questions, but thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you.
Chancellor, ladies and gentlemen, can I thank Tim again for agreeing to accept the honorary degree. I thank David for conducting the fireside chat and fielding your questions. I'm sure you all agree that it's been fascinating to hear Tim speak across such a wide range of subjects. And let me reiterate just in conclusion what I said earlier, what Professor Brewster outlined in his oration. I think it's important for us to have honorary graduates who embody the values and aspirations that we have. So it was good to hear, and it really matters to us that Tim shares our concern for and focus on the value and importance of diversity, all the quality of access to education, all of which are important in shaping our world, because it's really core for our heritage here at the university. It's embedded in our present, and it's a beacon for our future. And it was great to hear what he was saying about immigration. It's a joint belief at the university, for example, in the importance of free movement of talent, because it's the right thing to do, but it's also because creative movement of talent around the world will help us to harness that creative talent for the benefit of humanity. And that's why indeed we're very proud to identify ourselves with Tim and what we witnessed today. We're proud to count him amongst our honorary graduates, and through this new relationship that we can promote and celebrate the values that we share together. So thank you, Tim, on behalf of the university for accepting the degree of Doctor of Science. But also finally, thanks to you all who filled this hall and for coming to this event and participating in the discussion. It's been great to have you here, and I hope you've enjoyed the evening. Good night.